And we're live on YouTube and Facebook. Good afternoon. This is Jim Miller. My guest, Timothy Connolly,
Hi
AKA
there.
the Ukulele Hero, is here with me. And this is the Bold Leadership Story Show, where we talk about experiences shaping exceptional lives. And I know this is going to be a fun conversation. We're talking with Timothy, AKA, what is it? What's your
AKA,
name?
Sunny Calzone.
Sunny Calzone. If you're in
That's my
Vegas, you
nickname
know
from the
all
old
about
neighborhood.
Sunny Calzone.
hmm Well, Sunny Calzone was a nickname given to me in the old neighborhood back in New York City. When I was a kid, I was a troublemaker, kind of like the Sonny Corleone character from The Godfather
Okay.
movie.
All right.
You might remember he was played by an actor called James Caan. But
Love his work.
and I loved eating calzones. So
Okay.
I became Sunny Calzone. And the first town rather that I lived in growing up was a town called Long Beach on Long Island in New York.
Okay.
And
Yeah, we got a Long Beach here in California, as you know.
yes, that's right. The Long Beach in New York is the Long Beach where the Corleone family had their compound.
Okay.
Vito Corleone, played by Marlon Brando and The Godfather, he had his family house in Long Beach. They relocated to Lake Tahoe in Godfather Part 2. So they went from New York to Nevada, just like I did. I live in Nevada now myself. So interesting parallels between myself and the Corleone family, I suppose. But I'm not a mobster, nor am I a criminal or any of that. No, no, no. And if anything, I'm a superhero. But thank you for
I
having me
would
here,
agree
Jim.
with that. I would agree with that, Sunny Calzone. You are a superhero.
Well, I do try. I fight crime and rescue cats from trees and vanquish all the supervillains I can get my hands on.
Awesome. Well, anybody that can play a Fender ukulele like you do is a superhero in my book.
Well, thank you very much for saying that. I do like Fender and all of its gear. I've got two Fender amps. I've got Fender cables, quarter inch, that I use. I don't use XLR stuff, just the quarter inch. And let's see. I've
Old
also
school.
got,
That's the good stuff.
yeah, and that's really all I need. Plus, my Fender tenor ukulele is great. Fender does not yet make baritones or sopranos or the altos, otherwise known as the concert size, but they do
Mhm.
make tenor, which is great for me because tenor is my preferred ukulele size. My hands are a little too big to be playing the soprano and the alto size. Tenor for me is a sweet spot, and baritone is, I own one of those also. And that's a challenge to play because it's bigger. It's the biggest of them,
Mhm.
and so you've got to stretch your fingers on the fretboard a bit farther apart to be able to play it. I like using the baritone as practice for when I switch over to the tenor. And for the tenor, I'll do, one full set, two full sets with a break in between, or three full sets, whatever it is. And I can go the distance easily with the tenor. Baritone would tire me out, and the alto and soprano would just frustrate me. So thank you, Fender, for making the tenor ukuleles. You saved the day for me.
So that's interesting because I always thought that a ukulele was like a tiny thing that's shaped like a guitar and you play it like a guitar. But what now you're saying, I had no idea there were all these different sizes of
There's five
ukulele.
kinds these days. The
What's the
fifth kind.
difference between a
Uh,
guitar and a ukulele?
well, the difference between a guitar and a ukulele. Well, first of all, they're both from different families of musical instruments. The guitar is from its own family called the guitar family, and the ukulele is from the lute family. That's spelled Lute. The lute family of
Interesting.
instruments is entirely different and it's strung differently. If you have a guitar and you look at the six strings on a guitar, the standard tuning for it is from top to bottom E, A, D, G, B, E. And for the ukulele, standard tuning is G, C, E, A. So right away, you're talking about two entirely different languages of music, two
Mm.
entirely different alphabets. And when you're putting your fingers on the fretboard on a ukulele for the C major chord, for example, you would be essentially putting those fingers in the same place on a guitar to form a G chord. So right away, it's different. It's two steps removed, but it gets even crazier with the different kinds of ukuleles. The difference between a baritone ukulele and a tenor ukulele is they're separated by the tunings for the strings. They're 2.5 steps apart
Mm,
from each other. So it gets even a little crazier. However, if you play a baritone ukulele with your fingers in the same positions that you would put on a tenor ukulele, it's still going to make the baritone playable. And when a baritone and a tenor play together at the same time, they harmonize.
mm,
They're 2.5 steps apart from each other. And you don't put capos on the necks. You're just going to have it always in that standard tuning. It's always going to be in that key.
mm-hmm.
For ukulele, it's the key of C for tenor, soprano, and concert size. For the baritone, it's more of a key of G sharp, 2.5 steps removed from C major. Anyway, it's all Greek to those out there enjoying the podcast today who don't make music. Um, but it's interesting to learn new languages, and music is its own language that you can learn, and it's an abstract language too. And I love that the schools have music programs for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love that some schools remove music programs from their budgets for the kids. But of course, what can you do? I can't really do anything about that. I'm sad to see it happen, but I guess I understand why public schools remove music programs from their budgets for the kids. But I mean, yes, it all comes down to money. And when there's not enough money for certain things, then there have to be cuts. But I love it when kids take music classes. And
Mm-hmm.
I have friends about my age who have kids of their own. I don't have kids, but I have friends who have kids, and some of them study music. And I get to teach ukulele sometimes to kids who are curious about learning it. And I'm so jealous sometimes. I'm happy for the kids, but I'm jealous for them too, in a way, because they're starting so young. I
Mm.
didn't start ukulele until I was about 38, 39 years old.
Okay.
I'm 53 now. So I've been playing it for a little while. I do have a background in music from having been a singer and a band leader in New York,
Okay.
but never a string instrument player. And I never wanted to be a string instrument player when I was growing up. That wasn't my dream.
So what got you into playing the ukulele in your 30s?
Great question, Jim. The answer
You were
is
begging me to ask that.
I knew you were going to ask. One of my bandmates, a great fella by the name of Russ Rogers, multi instrumentalist, lap steel, pedal steel, guitar, bass, mandolin, you name it. Just out of the blue, he gave me a gift one night around one of our campfire jams where me and the band were just making some music.
Yeah.
He gave me a soprano ukulele. It was my first one ever. And he personalized it with a note inside the sound hole that you could read if you looked through the strings.
Uh-huh.
It was the coolest thing. And I didn't know what I was doing with it, but I would pick it up and I would fool around with it. And sometimes, he would tune it for me and maybe show me a few things. But I eventually became largely self taught, and I became someone who started to relish the challenge of learning it, but learning it my way and trying to, just do it yourself in terms of learning it. Now, you can self teach. When
But
people
you
have,
had a little different situation
well,
in
yes,
that.
that's true. My relationship with music and sound is very different because of my hearing loss.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, at age 3, I was robbed of my hearing from a life threatening head injury. And by age 21, while my hearing loss got no worse after age 21, it got bad from age 3 to age 21. I eventually went from having healthy hearing as a 1 year old, 2 year old, 3 year old
Hmm.
to being 21-year-old and approximately 90% deaf both ears. But my relationship with sound and music is very different. I can use powerful hearing aids to sort of hear, I guess, but I
Mm-hmm.
mostly feel sound instead of hearing it. So that means when I'm strumming an acoustic ukulele and feeling the vibrations of the instrument and
Mm-hmm.
frequencies that are being emitted from it, it speaks to me. And I feel like the instrument is speaking to me or singing to me in its own quiet way, in its own silent way that only art can. It's not easy to explain, but I'm trying my best. But so I guess you could say it's a little bit of a secret weapon for me having that kind of deafness because I'm able to play an instrument and know through feel, not through hearing, but through feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Because when my hearing went away, all of my other senses went, including touch, not just my fingertips, but head to toe. My all of my skin can feel energies, sound waves, voices, speech patterns, etc., feeling it and identifying it that way. So it's not quite as if I'm hearing through my skin, but I'm sort of comprehending the world. I'm comprehending reality through touch in a
Mm.
way. It's not, I used to think of it as a challenge, but I've come to think of it now as more of a gift. And it's not something that I ever feel sorry for myself about. There isn't anything I can do about it. I thought about getting a cochlear implant for both my ears. I know that cochlear implant technology exists.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
that's
I've got
more,
a buddy who has one. Helped him a lot.
it's great for people who have been born deaf. It's also something that robs you of the enjoyment of music, by the way. Little known fact
Mm.
about those procedures. If you have cochlear implant surgery, it's going to rob you of your enjoyment of music.
Mm.
It's going to rob you of your auditory enjoyment of music.
He
Now,
has it in one side. He plays guitar. We went on a tour of Taylor down here in San Diego one time with him, and he picked up a guitar and just started wailing on it. Just beautiful stuff. I had tears in my eyes listening to it. I didn't want
that's
to show
great.
him, but I was like, wow. But
Wow, that is impressive. I always like to hear stories like that. It takes courage to do that stuff.
yeah.
You know, when you're disabled like us, it's one of those things where you almost some days you just want to sort of crawl off into the corner and just sort of be by yourself and do your own thing. And I allow myself plenty of time for that. I love to read. I love to do crossword puzzles. I love to just go for walks or practice and study qigong. I'm learning a bunch of styles, even though I can probably honestly say I've mastered two of them now. I'm
Hmm.
working on a third and I'm inching towards a fourth and so on. I'm always finding ways to keep myself busy where I don't have to be feeling the pressures of socializing too much because it's difficult. It's even hard for me to go to like a networking party, even though I know how important that stuff is. You got to get out there and you got to meet some people and you got to press the flesh and exchange business cards and do all that. And I do, to a certain extent, but you won't see me doing a whole lot of that. I do enjoy time alone and I appreciate my solitude and my tranquility and all that.
So you brought up Qigong. Let's talk about that for a sec. I pulled up your
Sure.
website.
Qigong is there's my site. Yeah, look at that. Now this is cool. I've been using Facebook as a free website platform.
Yeah.
I use it for my Qigong coach page, and I also use it for just my regular ukulele hero page. But the Qigong is something I've been coaching now since 2016, and I found it very effective. I found it to be a gentler path than yoga, which has been pretty helpful for me. I have certain mobility issues. I'm a head on car collision survivor from 2002, and I'm still today only 12
Hmm.
years out from the wheelchair and about
Wow.
11 years out from the pain management clinics. So, as wonderful as yoga is, and I did practice yoga for years, and I coached it as well. A style
Hmm.
of yoga called DDP yoga, which was created by a professional wrestler from WWE called Diamond Dallas Page. He created a yoga program together with his wife, specifically designed for spinal health, which is incredible and very helpful for everybody. Even if you don't have spinal issues, it's great to do that stuff. But Qigong is a gentler path. I love it. It's all done standing still, standing up straight. So there's none of this getting down on your back, getting down on your knees, or on all fours, really. It's all done standing still. And look, there's 30 benefits of it. And that's just a small sliver of what it can do for you. Qigong is a pathway ultimately by which we can remember how to breathe. I'd love to teach you, Jim. I'd love to teach you how to breathe, but I can't. I can't teach anyone how to breathe. However, I can help people to remember how. And there's a difference between remembrance and learning. You were born knowing how. All of us were. We were born with the natural instinct of proper breath at birth. Next time you get a chance to watch a small 1-year-old or 2-year-old breathe, take a close look at them because they are the masters of it. They
Mm.
take these luxurious breaths into their bellies using only their diaphragm muscle. And that's the key. You don't want to fall into the pitfall of using your intercostal muscles. Those are the muscles that connect your ribs along the rib cage. You'll see some folks breathing into their chest, but you don't really want to do that because it doesn't exercise the diaphragm at all. And even though the lungs aren't muscles, the lungs are organs, but the lungs are surrounded by muscles. And like any muscles in your body, when you're exercising and developing a good muscle tone, whether it's your arms or your legs or your neck or whatever, you can do that also with the diaphragm and the intercostal muscles. You can develop a good muscle tone for your diaphragm,
Hmm.
eventually to the point where you can breathe in for 10 seconds straight, breathe out for 10 seconds, breathe in for 30 seconds, breathe out for 30, breathe in for 60 without taking a break, and then breathe out for 60. Super slow. I mean, you're not breathing in at full speed for 60 seconds. That's not how this works. The
Hmm.
slower your breathing becomes voluntarily, the better you can get a handle on your breath and start to control it the way you could naturally when you were still 2 years old, 3 years old, before your brain says, okay, I'm taking off the training wheels for breath, but I'm not going to tell you I'm doing it. So goodbye, training wheels. And now, after age 3, guess what? You're going to be taking shallow breath for the rest of your life, using maybe 15, 20% of your lungs for breath. Maybe, if that. But you should
Yes.
really be using 75 to 80%. That's ideal. Never want to take full breath. Never want to do 100%. That's never healthy. Never, ever, ever. That's like stretching a rubber band to the point where it is rendered useless. If you're going to stretch your
Interesting.
muscles, stretch them 75%. Yoga instructors, Qigong coaches, everyone will tell you, even weightlifters will tell you, it's always a good idea to never do 100% full stretch no matter what. Always try to do like 3/4. And same goes for breathing. Breathe in for 3/4 of the way and then breathe out back down to zero and so forth. That's the natural way. That's the instinctive way. And Qigong helps you to remember how to do that. And with a good coach like me, if you're lucky enough to find one, whether they coach you remotely or whether they coach you in person, they can help you to remember how to breathe because you knew once upon a time. And once you get it back, it becomes almost like riding a bicycle in terms of it becoming automatic. And then once you got it, you can use it to help you in so many ways. My weight is down from 310 to 180, largely due to remembering how to breathe and
Mm.
using breath for weight loss. That's it. I don't need Ozempic. I don't need pharmaceuticals. You don't need crash diets. You don't need anything really other than breath. This is the physio philosophy of Qigong, which
Okay.
goes back about, this is 5 or 6 thousand years old, my friend. This is nothing new by any means. I did not create this. I didn't contribute to it in any way. I've discovered it. I became curious about it 30 years ago, but I never really pursued it until after I decided that yoga was too hard on my body and I needed a gentler way. So I pursued Qigong, began to explore it, and right away I knew it was for me. I knew it. And then I began to discover more and more what I could do with my body's energies, how to cultivate them, use them for healing, use them for anti aging. I'm almost 70, but I don't look it. Some days I might feel it, but I sure don't look it. And I think breath has a lot to do with it because once you remember how to breathe and you're getting that oxygen finally that you have been craving and starving yourself of,
Hmm.
changes so many things for you. Do you know how much of today's air that we breathe is oxygen in terms of percentage wise?
I would say somewhere in the neighborhood of, I'm guessing, but 8 to 10%.
That's not a bad guess. The answer is 21%.
Okay.
So that's it. You get one fifth of the air you breathe, one fifth of it is oxygen. It's not much. Now,
Mm.
that's not supposed to scare you because it's been that way for about 200,000 years on this planet. There used to be more oxygen in the air
Hmm.
when the planet was hotter and warmer and more volcanic. But that's changed, of course, over the years with the oceans and the arrival of life forms and et cetera, et cetera. Now, if you're only getting one fifth oxygen from air that you breathe, guess what the other four fifths is?
Junk.
Nitrogen.
Nitrogen. Okay.
Technically, 78% is nitrogen, 21% is oxygen. Now, when you inhale oxygen, you breathe it out as carbon dioxide. And the
Right.
trees love you for it because that's what they inhale.
Hmm.
Nitrogen, when you inhale nitrogen, it's an inert gas. You exhale it exactly as it's unchanged. You exhale it right back out as nitrogen again. So if 78% is nitrogen and 21% is oxygen, that leaves us with 1% still. Guess what that 1% is?
No idea.
Well, the answer is everything else from
Okay.
carbon dioxide right
All the
on
junk.
down to hydrogen to everything else. And of course, pollutants, contaminants, dust, just everything else that's in the air that we breathe in all the time. A lot of dust we breathe in, we don't even realize it. Living here in the Mojave Desert, as I do now, you can't escape dust. And thankfully, I'm not one of those people who has a dust allergy. Oh God, that would be the worst thing for me.
Bad place to live for, yeah.
No, yeah. If you have dust allergies, maybe don't live in the desert. Um,
Right.
but anyway, so that's a little bit about Qigong. There's so much more to it, but that's a little taste of what's in store for those who choose to walk that path. It's a
Hmm.
mysterious path, and folks who are deeply rooted in that culture, Asian Americans, for instance, who go back generations and generations from that part of the world, I've learned from my own personal experiences that a lot of times there are exceptions to this, but a lot of times they will almost frown upon me practicing and coaching Qigong because for them um, it's a sort of cultural bedrock in terms of this is their culture. They're very protective of their ancient ways. Okay, fine, I can respect that. That civilization is thousands of years older than Western civilization. The United States is only, well, not even 300 years old. And some of the countries in Europe are not even 500 years old. Some of them aren't even 20 years old yet. Now, look at the Far East, and those are the older civilizations. So
Hmm.
I get it. If they're very protective and respectful of their culture and their ancient ways, that's fine. In fact, my traditional Chinese medicine doctor in New York once said to me, Tim, I don't want you to practice Qigong. I want you to stop. I want you to do gardening instead. Go down into the soil, work with the plants, have that be your Zen. Do that. Let that be your thing. My response was, with all due respect, doctor, thank you, but no thank you. My father is the gardener in our family. My father is also the piano player and the guitar player in our family too. But um, and me being the nonconformist, I always want to go and explore new frontiers and have the pioneering spirit of adventure be alive and well in me.
Mm.
At least, during this lifetime anyway. Next lifetime can be more conformist. That's fine. But for this lifetime, I am trying to explore things that to me are inherently mysterious. It surprises me sometimes when people aren't just more naturally curious, about things that are inherently mysterious, like Qigong, which is very mysterious. Oftentimes you'll hear about Tai Chi in this country. Tai Chi is a
Yeah, I've never heard of Qigong before. So,
Tai Chi is a form of Qigong. There are thousands of
uh,
forms. Tai Chi is younger than Qigong, however. You can think of Tai Chi as Qigong's grandson.
okay.
Tai Chi represents the martial arts branch of the Qigong tree.
Uh-huh.
That is martial arts, self-defense, slow motion blocks and strikes. That's Tai Chi. Qigong is not martial arts. Qigong is internal arts, where you are cultivating and revitalizing your body's energies, using it for healing, sending your
Mm,
energies where you want to, controlling it with your mind and with your spirit, and strengthening your mind and spirit at the same time. In Qigong, there's a Chinese word called Shen, spelled Shen. Shen means spirit and mind. It's one word that means both of those things in the Chinese language. In the English language, there is no one word that means that. There's no one English word that means both spirit and mind. However, it's one of the most essential principles of Qigong. By practicing it, you are strengthening your Shen, meaning you are strengthening your mind and spirit at the same time. It's a combination of meditation and movement and breathing, and it's all good, man, and it's so good for you. And I would love to see more people discover it. I get it that people who are deeply rooted in Chinese culture will frown upon us practicing it, but I am very respectful of it and I don't take advantage of it in any way. And I'm very happy to share it and talk about it, with anybody who's a little bit curious about it. The most common question I'm asked is, what is Tai Chi like Qigong? So it becomes like we were just talking about earlier, Jim. Tai Chi is very popular and prominent in this country, which is great. It's a form of self defense, and I think everyone should learn some self defense. I've had the good fortune of being able to practice karate with black belts in New York and
mhm.
training with them. Karate, jujitsu, aikido, and judo were the four disciplines of self defense that I've studied over the years. And I love that I can teach and show people a little bit of basic self defense. I once said to my mama, Mama, would you like to learn some self defense? Because it's great for everybody to know at least a little. Even if you never need it, it's good to know it. Because God forbid one day you need to know it, and you need it, but you don't know it, right? So I would love to show her someday. So far, she has said no, but I would like to show her, here's how to protect yourself if someone throws a punch to your face. Wouldn't it be nice to know how to defend that? There's a way to defend that in such a manner that you could potentially drop your opponent down onto the ground in less than 5 seconds, maybe even put him in the hospital or her if you're going to be that forceful about it. But it's usually a good idea to know some self defense. Protect yourself, you know. You don't have to say to someone, hey, look, I am a I'm a belted karate practitioner, even if it's white belt. Are you sure you want to get into this altercation with me before
Mhm.
it goes any further? That's not to say that my hands are weapons necessarily, but this is the story. I'm here to defend myself, and I can and I will if need be. And I
Mhm.
enjoy showing people how to defend themselves with Qigong, the internal arts. You can defend yourself using internal arts, strengthening your immune system, improving your sleep quality, improving your digestion quality, just everything overall. You saw that thing before where it's the 30 benefits of Qigong. I love that little graphic. I share that sometimes to new students who are just learning the practice and figuring it out. It's a
Mhm.
little complicated at first, but stick with it and go slow. And with little goals, you can really take it to some wonderful places, like you can with just about anything that you're interested in. Hey, there's my page again. Look at that. And there's my thing for the 30 benefits. I didn't create this graphic. I found it randomly on the internet, but I absolutely love it. It's such a great list. Such a great list, including number 30, improves kidney function.
Yeah, tell us about that. What does that mean? Improved kidney function. And how does Qigong help with that?
Oh, it helps so much. In the context of Qigong, the kidneys is the source where our Jing is stored. Jing
Okay.
is that's spelled Jing, like the first part of Jingle Bells,
Okay.
without the O and without the bells. So Jing, Jing. Jing is the Chinese word for life force, not to be confused with life energy. That's qi. Life force is Jing, and your Jing is stored in your kidneys. And how much Jing you have, Jim, that's going to determine how long you will live. And
Hmm.
when you're low on Jing, there's a great way to replenish it. It's like the wax and the wicks. It's like the wax and the wick of an unlit candle. When you
Okay.
light the candle and it starts to burn. Eventually, the wax will diminish. And like Jing, it will diminish over time too. But you can rebuild that candle like you would rebuild your Jing practicing Qigong. The strengthening of Jing, i.e., strengthening of kidneys, is going to be a natural side effect of practicing Qigong. And boy, oh boy, what a great side effect that is. Kidneys are very important for us, very important. And
Yeah, and I've had two kidney stones, and
have you?
I
Oh,
know there's a lot of pain there. They say
that's a
that
rough time.
it's what's that?
I've never had a kidney stone, but I've known friends who've had those, and they are a rough time from what
Yeah.
I've seen. I think there's some kind of medical technology these days where they can use some sort of ultrasound to break up the stones a little bit so that they're not so
Yeah.
large
Yeah.
when you
They
pass
put you in a
them.
water bath and then they blast it and it breaks it up. My daughter had
It's,
one when she was pregnant, and oof,
she had a kidney stone during a pregnancy.
yeah, it was really rough,
Oh,
really
wow.
rough.
Wow. Well, I still haven't had one kidney stone. Thankfully, I knock on wood. I mean, maybe I've just been lucky there, but I also have, I think doing the Qigong practice also helps with that too. Part of it is the water style Qigong, which is one of the five of the Wu Xing styles. You've got water, earth, fire, wood, and metal.
Mm,
Those five elements of the ancient world, the ancient Asian world. In the ancient Western world, we use earth, air, fire, and water. We don't use wood and we don't use metal like they do in the ancient world in the eastern part. Hey, there's the Wu-Zing elements. That's right. And when you do water style Qigong, I coach all five of these styles. My favorite of these is the fire style because it's good for the heart, good for the small intestines, and also good for the sun jiao, which is a part of our anatomy not recognized in the Western world, only
mm,
recognized in traditional Chinese medicine. The sun jiao is our body's internal thermostat. When you practice fire style Qigong, it helps to regulate your internal thermostat. So if you're feeling fever chills, it'll get rid of fever. Or if you're just feeling cold in general, overall, it'll warm you up. Fire style is great for that. But the water style is the big key to unlocking kidney health. And boy, am I glad I know how to do these five styles. This was one of the first techniques of Qigong that I wanted to learn. And I only really got the handle on it and mastered it last year. And my students are the happier for it too. Earth style is great. That's good for stomach health. And wood style is great for liver health. Metal style is good for lung health and large intestine health. Water style is good for kidney health. And what else? Oh, earth style is also good for spleen health. Jim,
mm.
do you know what our spleens do for us? Not everyone knows.
I knew this at one point. Show us what it is. What does the spleen do? I think it's bile or something, or is that the pancreas?
That's the pancreas.
Okay.
The spleen is a filter system for your blood.
Ah, okay.
It filters out damaged and bad blood cells from your bloodstream, which is something that comes in very handy. Now, if a spleen is not functioning properly, unfortunately, it can also filter out healthy blood cells too. So it's generally a good idea to do things that are good for spleen health.
Mm-hmm.
And you can Google, what's good for spleen health, or you can just practice the Earth style Qigong. Um, These five styles that you have up on display here for the screen are so helpful. And it only takes about 10, maybe 15 minutes to do all five in the sequence here. You're,
Really? Okay.
you're supposed to begin in this sequence with wood. That's that's the style that's good for your liver and gallbladder health. And then you move to fire style after that, which is good for heart, small intestines. Small intestines, by the way, are awesome. That's like a little bit of a secretary for your heart in terms of they both work to remove impurities from your body and
Hmm.
toxins. Fire style is also good for the sun jiao, which I talked about before. That's your body's internal thermostat.
Hmm.
And then you've got earth style, which is great for the stomach and spleen and digestion. And then metal, which is also sometimes called gold style. Metal style is good for the lungs and the large intestines, both. And then you have water. Water is good for both the kidneys and the urinary tract. So that's a good style of Qigong to practice, not just for kidney health, but also for urinary tract health and the whole endocrine system. This is a wonderful path here that you've got shown up on the screen, the Wu Xing. Wu Xing in Chinese means five elements.
Hmm.
Five. Some folks find it interesting that air isn't represented here as an element. Well, there's a reason for that, and that's because air is too sacred in ancient Chinese culture to be compartmentalized as being an element. Air is above all of this, meaning
Isn't
that
there a seventh element?
technically, yes, there is. That's called the void. That comes from ancient Egyptian culture, but
Mm.
nobody talks about the void element anymore. But that's a good question. In fact, I would say maybe 1% of 1% of 1% of people even know that the void element exists.
I read it in your bio. That's
Did
why.
you? Oh, well, and that's how you know.
Yes, I learned something.
It's a small world. The Western culture has its own way of looking at things, and Western culture is just earth, air, fire, and water.
Hmm.
And ancient Eastern culture has these five. But air is so important. Qi Kung, the word qi means energy in English. The word
Hmm.
qi also means air in English.
Mm.
And the word qi is also the name of their country, QI or QIN. Qin, QIN. They are the people of Qin. The English speakers have bastardized that. We say Chai, Chinese. They are the Chinese, technically, people of Qi, or the people of Qin, QIN. Anyway, it's all semantics and words, and all of the languages are going to do different things. And English is probably the ultimate bastardizer and mugger of other languages.
So,
But
as someone who's in Western culture, um, and is in a leadership role,
yes, sir.
they're typically very fast paced, moving, at top speed, working their mind, trying to be efficient, trying to eat well, exercise, have a good life, um, using strategies. Obviously, uh, qigong has not been part of their world. What would entice them to want to learn the discipline or the benefits and actually
Um,
start practicing?
they would want to. I guess the biggest incentive would be you're going to remember how to breathe.
Okay.
You've forgotten since age 3, but now you're going to remember. And once you bring it back, it's the game changer.
So what's run us through like a summary of a session with you.
Well, let's see. For a session for beginners, would start off by me introducing people to the three treasures that they're going to guard. And as everyone has the same three treasures, they are Jing, which is your life force, Qi, which is your life energy,
Hmm.
and Shen, which is your spirit and your mind. Those three treasures, you have to guard them. Guard them from the six robbers of Buddhism and from the four demons of the mind of Taoism. You'll be delving into ancient cultures as they all blend and mix into what is Qigong ultimately. You can trace its roots back to ancient China, but you can also trace Buddhism and Taoism and Confucianism, yes, back to ancient China. Qigong incorporates elements of that. I
Mm.
love the philosophies of Taoism and how it bleeds into Qigong. You
Hmm.
can take it as a philosophy and you can look at it that way and you can approach it that way. And when you meditate that way, you can think about the writings of Taoism as you're meditating and so forth, and you can find a real resonance there. You can find meaning there or not. It doesn't strike a chord with everyone, but it's still something worth exploring at least a little bit. This is a discipline that's been around for 5 or 6 thousand years, and it's
Mm.
not going away anytime soon. So, hey, maybe there's something to it, right? I've decided to explore it and I've gone pretty deep into it, but I'm able to pull back from those depths and put myself at a good level where I can speak with beginners and sort of hold their hand through the beginning of it so they don't get overwhelmed by all of it, because it's almost like being in this inside this beautiful museum slash art gallery slash everything of
Mm.
what this ancient culture has to offer us still today in the 21st century. Um,
Can you practice? Could someone contact you and use this technology that we have, the Zoom, or some online methodology or platform to work with you?
Of course. In fact, I have students right now in 6 different countries. And I'm so
Mm.
glad for the Zoom platform
Mm.
and for all of the various streaming platforms that we have that are available to us. I mean, Zoom is just one. Here we are on StreamYard, which is another great one too. And
Hmm.
I do it constantly. So if people are interested out there enjoying this podcast and you'd like to learn a bit more about Qigong, of course, the internet and Google is a wonderful resource. It's not much of a substitute, though, for having a real coach that can be right there to encourage you and answer questions for you and help you to establish little goals. Because having little goals is really a big key towards feeling like you're accomplishing something and not like, oh God, I'm never going to get the hang of this, or allowing self doubt to creep in.
Mm.
This
You said you used it to lose weight.
Well, yes, you can use breath. Once you get the hang of remembering breath and how to use breathing and how to use that diaphragm muscle, how to really use it,
Mm.
you can use breath. You can use breath just for weight loss. You can focus on that aspect of the discipline and the technique if you want to do that, or if you don't feel like you need to lose a bunch of weight, then you can just go ahead and reap all the other benefits of Qigong, including kidney function. You'll be
Mm.
improving kidney function by practicing the water style technique of Qigong. You'll be massaging those kidneys in such a manner that you've probably never massaged them before in your entire life, and they're going to love you for it. And when you practice the wood style Qigong, you'll be massaging all of your viscera. I never get to use that word, viscera. Love that. You'll be
What is
massaging
this?
all of your viscera. Is that how it's pronounced? Maybe viscera. Yep. It's so great. And you'll be doing it in such a way that your organs will be quietly saying thank you to you. And when your organs have something to thank you for, you know you're doing something right, because you have to take care of yourself, right? You got to look out for number one. But the
Mm.
first thing I show to beginner students is, okay, these are your three treasures, and I'm going to help you to guard them. I cannot guard them for you. Jim, you have these three treasures too. That's your Jing, your Qi, and your Shen. You got to guard them. You need to safeguard them from the six robbers of Buddhism and the four demons of the mind of Taoism. This is deep stuff, but once you look into it and develop even just a cursory understanding of it, you'll find that little windows inside your mind, or little doors that have been very closed and quite locked to you, have now been flung wide open. And now you have something not only new and interesting to think about, but you'll also have some new tools in your toolbox to help get you healthier. Maybe
Mm,
get your weight down like I did from 310 to 180. Maybe get yourself on a real longevity path that you haven't been on before. Get,
yeah.
get into the habit of waking up super early. I mean 3:30, 4 a.m. every day. Doesn't matter what day of the week it is. Could be Friday, could be Saturday, Sunday, whatever. Get up early and take advantage of what's called the Brahma Muhurta. That's the sacred hour, the 90 minutes before the sun rises. In that 90 minutes, the ancient Hindus will tell you that's when our brains, since our hunter-gatherer days, however many hundreds of thousands of years ago as a human species, our brains are wired to the art of surrender. We know at the end of the day, for instance, we've got to brush our teeth, floss, use oral rinse before we go to bed every night without fail. We don't love to do it, but we surrender to it. We know it's good for us, and it's sure better than big dentist bills. That's the art form of surrender. Same
Mm,
thing during the Brahma Muhurta, 90 minutes before sunrise. Boom. Our brains are most willing to surrender during that 90 minutes. Try it. You'll see. It's a big difference. You can meditate during that time. You can exercise during that time. Maybe do laundry, do dishes, whatever you want to do. You'll do it, and your body will be happy to, because your mind is geared and wired to do that. People won't tell you that really generally. This culture isn't really in tune with these ancient ways from the Eastern world, but the Eastern world has so many cool answers to a lot of questions that this part of the world tends to want to answer with pharmaceuticals or psychologists or look, it's not a knock on those industries really. I have friends that are in those industries, and some of them are the coolest people I've ever met. But there are options available to all of us.
mm.
Western medicine does not have all the answers. Sorry, it doesn't. The ancient
I
East,
agree.
there's a lot to look at and a lot to learn from.
There's a lot of good stuff, but there's definitely
Oh yeah,
some need for alternatives.
there are some need for alternatives, and even just from a leadership standpoint, I love taking it upon myself to get out there and show some beginners what the qigong discipline can do for them,
Mm,
specifically to help them. I'll ask them, hey, what do you want to work on? What do you need the most help with? Do you want to improve your lungs? Do you want to improve your stomach? Maybe you want to improve your back, your neck. What do you want to work on? And then we'll try to do surgical strikes on that part of them so that they can
mm,
fix and repair themselves using the Qigong discipline, using the energies, just their internal energies to build and repair and strengthen and just everything, because first of all, you're finally going to be breathing the way that you should. And your red blood cells, your brain, just everything's going to be finally getting the oxygen that it needs after you starving yourself of oxygen for however many years. Welcome back. Welcome back to your instinctual breath. And once it becomes automatic for you, and hey, maybe you don't need me as a coach anymore. That's cool. I have some people who only just have me coach them for 3 or 4 sessions and then they're good. My sessions generally run about 90 minutes, and then
mhm.
afterwards we do Q&A. So if they have questions about whatever, I'll stick around for like another half hour or so, and we'll talk about that, and they might even have some ideas that they want to bring up. Ideas is one of my all-time favorite things to talk about. I love talking about ideas, hopes, dreams, plans. Love that stuff. My least
Mhm.
favorite things to talk about are people. I don't like gossip. Events. I don't care much to talk about events or news. I really love ideas, hopes, dreams, plans. You want to talk about that stuff with me? Let's go. You want to talk about leadership ideas with me? Let's do it. Ever since Boy Scouts, I've been really geared into the leadership lane, and I stay in my lane. Otherwise, I'm not particularly satisfied or fulfilled or happy. I know who I am. I know what I am. I'm here to lead. And sometimes I'll just quietly lead by example. Because I'm deaf, I don't put myself out there as often as I could into the world because Too much energy, too much excitement for me is unhealthy to me. It creates stress in my body. Stress is the silent killer that builds up over
Mm.
time. And
Yeah.
everybody needs a stress relief method. For me, it's Qigong. For some, it's yoga. For some, it's martial arts. Or for some, it's whatever. It could be dancing, or it could be painting, could even be podcasting, right, Jim?
Exactly. Yeah. I,
Anything. Although
I love doing this. I
screen, I love it too. Although I have a love hate thing with screen time. Screen time is a little bit of a nemesis of mine
Yeah, it's not
because
good
of
for you.
it's because of my heightened sense of touch. I
Mm.
have I have an acute electromagnetic issue where
Really? You can
I
feel that?
I'm vulnerable to electromagnetic frequency radiation. And
Okay.
sometimes when I get overexposed to EMF radiation, I have to excuse myself from the room. For instance, if I'm at a board meeting and everybody whips out their tablets or their laptops, and now everybody's got the Wi-Fi going and EMF all over the place. For others who don't have that kind of touch sensitivity, I'm sure it's fine. I guess maybe they're used
They
to it.
just don't know.
They're used to that kind of radiation. They wouldn't feel it like I do. For me, it hurts, and I have to leave the room. And sometimes after that, I need to be alone for a couple of days before I
Mm.
get back out into the world. But I've learned my limits. I'm old enough now where I know when it's time to escape, when it's time to get alone, as Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys used to say, then that means it's time to get alone. Just embrace solitude and tranquility and soak it up as much as you need, and then get right back out there and keep doing your thing. If it feels like you're going to hit the wall, there's something else you can hit instead, and that is the brake pedal.
Mm.
Slow down. And that doesn't mean full stop. I mean, ride the brakes and slow down so you don't hit the wall in life. Whatever it is, the wall could mean anything. Anything could represent the wall to you. Slow down, ride the brakes. Don't stop. Just slow down and then swerve around that wall and keep going. Stay in your lane. Don't get discouraged from leadership if that's what you're doing.
Mm.
I'm built for that. I'm built to last. I'm not built for speed. So I need to slow down when it's time to slow down. And when I need to quietly lead by example, then that's what it's time for. But when I'm out there in a real interactive leadership role, coaching Qigong or teaching ukulele as an instrument, it's important that I put myself out there and that I go at a speed that's good for them. I never want to discourage beginners by showing them too much too soon. There's a little bit you got to reveal at a time. For instance, if you're brand new to ukulele, Jim, and I was going to give you an ukulele lesson, for your,
Yeah.
for your first lesson, I might show you what the strings are, how to make a few chords, how to do arpeggios, and that would be the end of that lesson. 30 minutes, boom, we're done. And the next lesson, I'll show you how to cut off the strings from the instrument, remove them, and then put your own brand new strings on. And then it becomes the workshop element of owning and caring for an instrument. Whether it's right there, look, whether it's my Fender tenor ukulele that you see in that picture right
That's
there,
so cool.
or whether it's your guitar, or whether it's your bass, or anything, it's important that you know how to care for the instrument. So your second lesson would be, okay, we're going to cut off the strings. There they go. Now there's no strings. And now I'm going to give you some lemon oil. We're going to put lemon oil on the fretboard, and wood's going to love it. And then we're going to put your brand new strings on. And then we're going to show you the fun, the quote unquote fun of tuning new strings. Tuning new
Mm.
strings isn't fun because new strings love to, guess what? Go out of tune.
Yeah.
It
Stretch.
takes it sometimes can take a week before the strings finally calm down and they stay in tune for you. And there's this wonderful company in Italy that I've been buying strings from lately called
Mhm.
Aquila. Incredible strings. They keep doing things with string technology that blows my mind. They've invented a string that combines nylon and catgut together in the same string. They call it Nile gut. So
Wow.
I've been using Nile gut strings for a while now. They're awesome. They stay in tune a whole lot better than nylon strings do.
Mm-hmm.
And I just picked up a brand new set of strings from them called the Red Series. They're called the Red Series because the strings are colored red and they contain microscopic copper particles
Interesting.
in with the nylon and the catgut. And the purpose of the copper particles together in with the nylon and catgut is so that it reduces the sustain ability of the string and it gives it an overall deeper resonance. Now,
Mm.
because I'm deaf, I've lost a lot of the higher frequencies. They're just gone to me. So I
Mm-hmm.
love low end frequencies. I love bass, and I love if I'm playing ukulele, I love the G string. I love the low G, and if I'm
Mm-hmm.
playing guitar, I love the low E, and if I'm playing bass, I love the low B. Always gravitate towards low. So I'm trying these Red Series strings, and it takes some getting used to because they don't have the sustain that I'm normally used to. When I say sustain, I mean you play a chord or you play a string or a key or a note, and it can hold itself for a good long while if you play it right. Whereas with the Red Series, you really can't. Hey, look at that. Music can cure things that medicine never will. Isn't that true? Um,
Mm.
Music has been a big healer for me over the years. Um, and I was raised on my parents' record collection. They had wonderful vinyl records. Um, Dad was a big fan of Led Zeppelin and The Who and the Rolling Stones. And Mama liked the Beatles and the Beach Boys and the Doors and the Grateful Dead and the Doobie Brothers. And so I grew
All
up
right.
all
Yeah. All the good stuff.
yeah, Creedence Clearwater and all this great stuff. A lot of California music they were into, which was great. Even though we were from New York, we like some New York music too, like Simon and Garfunkel and so forth. We got a chance to enjoy a lot of that. But I've always gravitated towards the California stuff. And growing up on listening to their records, I just became a big classic rock guy.
Yeah.
And listening to classic rock radio, listening to my parents' record collection, and we didn't have much else to do in the early days of the 1970s when I was just a kid. Hey, look at that reminder! You are spectacular. Yes, you are, Jim. And even I am too in some ways, and
Thank
we
you,
all
Timothy.
all of
You are
us.
too.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Everybody is spectacular. You beat the odds. What were the odds that you were going to exist, right?
Oh, huge.
And the
That
odds that
first
you and I
race
are
where
going
there
to
was, I
exist,
had
huh?
300 million competitors.
Yeah, right. Well, something like that. That's what they say. Oh, I love this art. This is life, comfort zone, so on and so forth. Yeah, you've got to leave your comfort zone if you really want to grow as a
This
person.
is leadership, right? This is the essence of leadership.
This is the purest form of leadership because what you're doing here is you're looking at leadership as art.
Mm.
That there isn't much that needs explaining. This picture, this drawing, I should say, it explains itself beautifully. If you take a good long look at a picture like this, it can teach you a lot about yourself, and it can teach you a lot about how to conquer your fears and develop some courage to get out there and try new things and try new thoughts and see what works for you and see what doesn't work for you. And what doesn't work for you, fine, leave it alone, but at least try it. And then afterwards you can say, okay, now you know.
Yeah, it's
I love
interesting.
it.
You start at the lower left on this down here in the comfort zone, and if you get across this cavern crevasse into the
Uh-huh.
perceived boundaries, make your way through, and you brave the unknown, you find the known,
Yes.
and then you find a comfort zone,
Yes.
and then you
And then,
brave some more perceived boundaries, and you go into the unknown again, and then you find another known, and
mhm.
you keep getting higher and more achieved.
And then you find that your current comfort zone is better than your comfort zone was 5 years ago, and so on
Yeah.
and so forth.
And if you've never gone across that first crevasse through the perceived boundaries, you never have found those other comfort zones.
Right? Not yet. And I'm almost a little bit jealous for those who haven't leave that first comfort zone because they're going to experience the unknown,
Right?
and they're going to
It's so
experience that next
so
unknown.
so joyful.
Yeah. So, one of these days, everybody's going to get out there and they're going to have those perceived boundaries and then the unknown and then the known and then the comfort zone again, and so on and so forth. Oh, I love this creature.
So what is that?
This is the venomous blue ringed octopus.
Wow.
I know, right? I forget what part of the world this is from, but I don't know if it's an endangered species or not, but damn, that's a rare sea creature right there.
So is it translucent,
Yes,
or,
and
or
it's
is that camouflage that it's using? It looks
I
like
don't think it
sand.
I don't think it changes colors, but man, isn't that mint?
It's crazy.
I know, right? I would not want to get bit or stung by those guys.
It's probably from Australia or something.
Oh yeah, probably. Yeah, that would not be a good time. Oh
No.
man. But so yeah, man, leadership. I mean, that's something that's been real important in my life since I want to say age 15.
Mm.
Age 15, that was right around the time I stopped being so much of a juvenile delinquent and I started becoming someone who was a little bit more in tune with what I could accomplish, even with my disabilities and my limitations. What I once thought of as challenges, and that I now see as gifts. And being in Boy Scouts, being a senior patrol leader, and being someone who was leading the kids who were my age. Okay, so I'm in Boy Scouts. This is cool. The Scoutmasters are cool, and I've always enjoyed that Boy Scout experience. And sometimes I'll look back on it, and think to myself, "Wow, that's the thing that really showed me how to be a better person, and it taught me a lot that I don't think I was going to learn in school or
Mhm.
that I was going to learn from my parents at home." So I salute the Boy Scouts of America. Um, I hope that they're still out there doing great things for the kids today. Although I think I recently saw in the news that girls are now part of Boy Scouts. I don't know if Girl Scouts is being phased out or if girls just now have the choice. If you want to join Girl Scouts, join Girl Scouts. Or if you want to join Boy Scouts of America, but you're a girl, you have that choice. So you can join Boy Scouts, I think. I'm not sure how it all works, but I
Yeah,
think
me
it's
either.
yeah, it's a real strange new world now for me. And one of these days I'll get used to it, or not. We'll see. Who knows? That's the unknown. First, I will have to leave the comfort zone and go to the
Yeah, right.
boundaries and so forth.
Yeah, I have a
Um,
friend in high school that from high school that was an Eagle Scout, and that is
cool.
that's a major accomplishment.
It's big. It'll work wonders for your self-esteem, especially when you're still a teenager. You only have until age 17, I think, or age 18 to make Eagle. And if you
Mm,
don't, then you can't ever.
yeah,
There's a cutoff for how young you can be to earn the Eagle.
right.
But once you go after age 18, even if you don't make Eagle, you can still remain in Scouts as like an assistant Scoutmaster, or you become a Scoutmaster, or you join the next organization above Scouts, which is called Explorers.
Mm,
Explorers is like Boy Scouts, but it's for adults. They go on camping trips together. They do like extreme hikes or whatever they want to do. Man, I wish I had joined Explorers. I mean, I like to say I lived a life with no regret. I have no regrets. I like to say that, but I honestly don't feel that. There are things I feel like I should have tasted at least a little bit.
yeah,
I should have. I
yeah. I
should
think
have.
we all have. I mean, if you've been around a lot at all, you see things that you'd like to do that
Yeah.
you have.
Oh, yeah. I still see
But you've
things I'd like to
accomplished
do.
a lot.
I have. That's true. But have I accomplished enough? That's the big question. I don't know
Well,
because there's always new things
still
to
alive and
explore.
kicking.
It never ends, right? There's always more perceived boundaries out there. There's
Right. Where are those perceived boundaries?
there's more unknowns out there, and I am just I have an unquenchable thirst for knowledge that I think outshines a lot of the folks I grew up with as a kid.
Mm,
And as I grew into adulthood, I began to learn, okay, maybe I'm just special in that way. I'm not so complacent. I'm not so lazy. I'm not. any of that. I'm very driven. I'm very leadership oriented, and
Hmm.
but again, at the same time, I also understand the value of going slow. When I have new ukulele students and when I have new qigong students, I've got to go slow and I've got to get them feeling okay with little goals. You know, you do a little bit at a time, and it's the same thing with physical fitness or martial arts and self defense or any of that stuff. You've got to go slow at first, and if anyone tries to, get you into it at too fast of a pace for you, it's okay to speak up and say, hey, maybe this is a little too fast for me.
Hmm.
Because then if the instructor is worth their weight in seashells, then they'll at least know to slow down a little bit for your benefit. It might not be for the instructor's benefit, but let's face it, this isn't really about the instructor. This is about the student. Any situation that involves a qigong session or an ukulele teaching session is not about me at all. It's about the students and the people who are trying to better themselves and explore this strange new world for them. And they want to do it in such a manner that it's not going to overwhelm them or intimidate them or discourage them, because it's easy to get intimidated or discouraged or overwhelmed. We're all human and we all have these frailties. We all have our weaknesses. We all have our strengths. But
Hmm.
but we have our weaknesses too. So, and even I have my own. But at least I have enough of a good background of leadership to know that when it's time to slow down and go at the speed that is going to be most beneficial to your students, then that's the way to do it. Or in a business setting, if you're going to go at a good speed that's good for your employees, that's helpful too. Although with the business world, I think it's a different structure and a different framework, and you have to be a bit more acceleration oriented as a leader, not so okay, little goals, little goals. As a qigong
Yeah.
coach and a teacher of music for the ukulele, I can I can get away with the little goals method, not the acceleration method. And as far as the acceleration method goes, that has merit, especially in the business world, and it's going to separate the men from the boys big time, and it's going to do it real quick. And it won't take long before you realize who's gonna have what it takes to stay around here and keep up with the speed of business.
Well, how about the speed of music? I've got a picture I'm going to pull up. I want to get your thoughts on this and
What do you got?
feel your excitement.
The tension mounts.
I think, yeah, here we go.
Hey, oh, this picture right here.
Yeah.
Well,
You're
that
talking about acceleration. I mean, you're playing the ukulele. I picture, calm, little ditty songs, and you're there with a badass electric guitar player, lightning, all kinds of UFOs going on, lots of energy in Vegas. What's happening there?
well, this promotional flyer created by my dear friend Brian Witt. It certainly has a lot of Las Vegas to it, with all the
Yeah, it's fun.
with the brightness and the excitement level and all that. Um, I play when I perform live shows as a ukulele performer. Most of the time, I'll plug in and I'll go electric. My Fender tenor ukulele it's an acoustic electric, meaning I can play it acoustically if I want, or electrically. My preference is to play acoustic because I'm really feeling the vibrations of it, and the instrument really speaks to me in that way.
Okay.
But once I plug in and I go electric, then all of a sudden it's EMF. And it's like, whoa, for me, I have EMF sensitivity. I can handle it, but I can handle that for a few hours at the most, but I'll need some tranquility afterwards. But as for this flyer, this is good. This is for the concert I'm going to do on April 27th.
Yeah, that's coming up.
It's coming up, and it's Ace Frehley's 73rd birthday. You probably know Ace from Kiss, right?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So Ace Frehley is going to be turning 73 on April 27th, and this is a birthday celebration for Ace. So I'm going to do two full sets of live music. I think I'm going to do one full set of Kiss music, and throw some
Very
Ace
cool.
Frehley solo songs in there too. And I might do two full sets of Kiss music. We'll see. I grew up with listening to Kiss. Kiss was from New York, just like me.
Uh-huh.
And I think that there's certainly enough material there from which I can cull two sets. But so yeah, this is a real departure from what you might think a ukulele player can do,
Yeah.
stereotypically speaking. But um,
You're bringing a whole new dimension to it, and to me, that's
yep,
leadership.
this is leadership. This is yeah, this is a form of leadership right here. It's a pioneering um, exploring of a frontier, I suppose, because no one else in Las Vegas does what I do. No one else in Las Vegas plugs in an electric ukulele and goes out there and performs. I perform about 1,000 songs in my repertoire from the
Wow.
1920s to the 1990s. I'm very much a 20th century guy. I don't like 21st century music very much, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. I am what I am, and authenticity is everything. So for this show, I'm going to do some electric music by Kiss. Now,
Mm.
when I plug in and play, it's not me with a full band behind me. It's just me. And it's not me with a microphone so I can sing also while I play. I don't like to sing and play at the same time. In fact, I don't even really like to sing anymore very much. I did that a lot in New York. I did that for 25 years. And it was fun the first 700,000 times. Don't get me wrong. But I'm ready for greener pastures, my man, and that's what the ukulele represents to me. I
Awesome.
re- I didn't want to play. I didn't grow up thinking I would play. My bandmate gifted me one back in 2008 around a campfire, and
Mm.
it just got its hooks into me. And then it became me. And then the next thing I knew, I thought I was a musician, and the next thing I know, I'm music. And there's a difference, right? And it just
And
flows so
wow.
naturally for
It's
me. I pick it up so naturally.
great.
And
So
the
you
Kiss
explained to me your deafness and how you feel that. How do you translate that back into the experience that someone hearing has?
I don't know. That's a great question. If you're born with healthy hearing and you have healthy hearing your entire life, you're going to have different thresholds and you're going to have different limits and levels for what you can tolerate. Maybe, for instance, a low flying passenger airplane overhead is going to be really loud, like 100 decibels or whatever.
Hmm.
That might be something that people with healthy hearing have a hard time tolerating because they're going to go like this, right? They're going to cover their ears or crouch down and cower away from the sound and the noise. I would experience the sound and the noise not not auditorily, but or orally, I guess. Aurally, maybe is the word.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'll feel it. I'll feel those vibrations and that noise, and sometimes it can be real overwhelming to me. But everyone is different. Everyone has their own levels and limits, and they know how much they can handle, and I know how much I can handle. In terms of playing electric music for live audiences and just doing it by myself with no backing band, no support, and no singing at the same time, what you're going to get is someone who can play the instrument and almost make it sound as if you're hearing a band. Almost. You'll hear the rhythms, you'll hear the solos, you'll hear the melodies because when I play the instrument, I don't do stereotypical rhythmic strumming. A lot of what you think of as ukulele playing is stereotypically rhythms,
Mm.
but I don't really play rhythms. I play melodically. So my right hand is doing this instead
Ah, okay.
instead of this.
Yeah.
And I don't play with a pick. People will play with a pick a lot of times. I never want to use a pick because I can use my fingers. I've got that heightened sense of touch that can allow me to have my fingers run wild around the strings and do their thing. I can use the low notes as drones, like Eric Clapton does, and I
Uh-huh.
can do my soloing along the treble strings down towards the bottom of the neck. So for me, that would be my E string and my A string. I would be doing that, and then I can use the middle strings to do some rhythm stuff also. It's not easy to explain. It's it's easier to understand as a viewer, a spectator, if you were to experience it live. Come see me live and see what I can do with the fingers that have the heightened sense of touch with no using of my vocals, just my fingers. I'll recreate the songs for you, whether it's Frank Sinatra, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, any of the bands that I play a lot of music from. Beach Boys, Beatles. I mean, such a long list of bands that I get out there and celebrate the music of. I love to celebrate my music heroes, and I think that's a great way to lead by example a little bit too.
Hmm.
There aren't many people that get out there and do this. Celebrating, for instance, Ace Frehley on his birthday, April 27th. And then the next week, I'm getting out to celebrate Willie Nelson's birthday. Willie is going to turn 91 at the end of this month.
Wow.
And we're doing a special night for Willie. And I'm going to play a record of his from 1975 called Red-Headed Stranger
Mm.
in its entirety. And then I'll follow that up with the second set. I'm going to play an entire record of his from 1983 called Tougher Than Leather. So come on out and see me perform live on Willie Nelson's birthday week. We're going to do a great show that day, back to back, full Willie Nelson albums in their entirety, played by just me with no vocals. And you're going to get it all. And you're going to be able to experience it all in the tempo that Willie created it in. I think a lot more musicians could challenge themselves in these kinds of ways, getting out there to celebrate their music heroes, this sort of thing like I do.
Hmm.
But I see there's a lot of what I like to refer to as one trick ponyism amongst the music scene, music scenes, plural. In New York City, I'm very familiar with the way that scene is, and Long Island. You see a lot of one trick ponyism. Lots of tribute bands that get out there and cover bands that just do the same stuff, same stuff, same stuff. They have their fan base that builds and builds and grows, I guess, as a result of that. So they're not alienating their fan base. That's smart. That's a form of leadership. Why alienate your fan base as a performance group, whether it's music or dance or whatever performance art it is?
Hmm.
Why alienate your fan base when you can continue to grow it and grow it and grow it, right? Okay, great. I get it.
Hmm.
How about growing your fan base while doing what I do? Now there's a challenge for you, right? That's another path that goes off through the weeds, away from one trick pony land and into, okay, now I'm going to challenge myself a little bit. I'm going to
Mm.
get out there and I'm going to do an Eric Clapton show. I'm going to do an Ace Frehley show. I'm going to do a Led Zeppelin show on Robert Plant's birthday in August. I'm going to do a Queen show during Brian May's birthday in July.
Wow.
I'm going to do a John Lennon show during John's birthday in October. And my favorite drummer of all time, John Densmore of The Doors, his
Mm.
birthday is coming up in December. So I'm going to give you 2 full sets of music by The Doors.
Wow.
Now, that's a
Huh.
cool way. I'm leading by example here, Jim, in that way, because I'm
Yeah.
getting there and I'm going to do all of these. I'm going to do all of this chameleon type stuff, where I'm celebrating this one artist one week, and the very next week I'm going to do this one. For instance, David Gilmour, Pink Floyd. I'm going to give you 2 full sets of Floyd music, and then maybe it'll be Elvis Presley. I'll give you 2 full sets of Elvis songs, and which is great right here in Las Vegas.
Oh yeah. It's
You
great
know,
anywhere, but yeah,
good
Vegas.
anywhere,
Sure.
right? And then I'll give you 2 full sets of Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, all that stuff too. I'm so versatile in that way, which already sets me apart from the vast majority of other performers in these city-based music scenes, which is fraught with one-trick ponyism. I would love to see tribute bands, cover bands, any kind of band start to do a little bit more of celebrating their music heroes in a timely manner, meaning try to do it around the birthdays of your heroes. Like
Yeah,
I'm
that's
doing
cool.
Ace Frehley of Kiss at the end of this month, Willie Nelson on May 4th. I'm doing 2 sets of Eagles music. Oh, God, I love music by the Eagles. And I
Mm.
get to do 2 full sets of their songs next month, too. And
Hotel California.
the Hotel California album is so cool. I can do that song for song, start to finish, maybe not note for note, but close enough.
Yeah.
Close
Yeah.
enough so that it's very quite listenable and enjoyable without vocals, just instrumental, just me on a Fender ukulele running through a 15-watt Fender Acoustasonic amp that comes with a built-in chorus pedal that I absolutely love because if you're not going to have built-in chorus, that means you're going to need an external chorus pedal that you have to put a 9-volt battery into and you have to run an extra cable out of, and it's a pain in the neck. So thank you, Fender, for giving me the built-in chorus knob on my 15-watt Acoustasonic Fender amp. I love the Acoustasonic amp. Acoustasonic is made specifically for using acoustic electric instruments. If I was to just take an electric guitar and plug it into an Acoustasonic amp, it's not that it would sound like crap, but it wouldn't sound great.
Mm.
And I have a couple of different Fender amps. My current favorite is the Acoustasonic 15-watt. I also love the Fender Frontman amp, which is a little bit bigger than the 15-watt Acoustasonic. But the Fender Frontman, as great of an amp as it is, it's not really made for Acoustasonic instruments. If I was to plug it in to the Fender Frontman and play through it, it would play and it would sound okay. It would be really up in the mid-range though. A lot of
Mm.
mid-range, meaning not so much treble or bass,
Right.
just a lot of mid-range frequencies. So much so that it's almost annoying. So I don't really use the Fender Frontman amp anymore, but I use the Fender Acoustasonic, and it's perfect for what I need. All I need is 15 watts. I don't need a big 50-watt amp, even though I do own one of those too. But I just bring around a 15-watt amp, and I'm good. And the audiences get a chance to come and see all of these performances by me. Come and see someone who is gifted in this way. And maybe you'll get to experience or introduce yourself to different famous recording artists for your first time by seeing me. For instance, come see me do a Hotel California show, or
Mm.
come see me do a John Lennon show, or see me do a Pink Floyd show. It might be your first time experiencing music by some of those artists, and if I am your gateway to that, wonderful. If you've never listened to Pink Floyd music and you come see me do Dark Side of the Moon from start to
Wow.
finish, then you may come away from that
Cool.
experience thinking to yourself, well, I might want to go and pick up Dark Side of the Moon and give it a listen. Why not? It's all about discovery sometimes. There have been numerous times when I've gone to see other bands perform live and I discover music for my first time really through them.
Best way to hear it. It's live.
Yeah,
Without a doubt.
live. Experience it live. Interact with the audience, see how the audience interacts with the performers,
Hmm.
and sometimes you get a heckler. And that's the most fun for me. That's
Yeah.
the most fun. I love hecklers. I shoot them down right away. You get good at it after a while. And it's fun for the rest of the crowd too, just for a moment. And
Uh,
I'm not
well,
trying to encourage heckling by any means, but it's just part of the experience. It's part of the show, and it's like they used to say, that's entertainment. It's all just part
oh
of it.
yeah. Oh yeah. Beautiful.
Come away from it with such a cool feeling after little fun things like that. And
Mm.
after a show, I like to stick around and do fun stuff for the crowd, for the fans. I autograph surfboards, I autograph beach balls. I do fun stuff like that. And it's a silly gimmick, I know, but whatever, it's mine. And it's again one more thing to set me apart a little bit from a lot of the rampant one-trick ponyism that happens here in this town. I don't think that bands challenge themselves enough. I don't think that leaders of bands, band leaders locally, um, I don't think that they steer their ships in directions that are adventurous enough and,
Mm.
and personally rewarding enough for them. I get it that if you're going to be a hardworking band in this city of Las Vegas, and you're going to get out there and you're going to be able to make money, fill in the showrooms and doing this and that, It's going to involve a whole lot of one-trick ponyism, and you got to be ready to get out there. For instance, if you're a Neil Diamond lookalike and you're a guy who does Neil Diamond tribute concerts, or if you're a Barbra Streisand tribute concert artist, okay, you're going to get out there and you're just going to do that. You're going to make nice money doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the path to money, and there's two paths a man or woman can go. According to Jim Morrison of the Doors, you get two paths. The first one leads to money, and the other path leads to soul. And according to Jim Morrison, money beats soul every time. That's what Jim said. But that's not so much that Jim meant that's how you're supposed to live. What Jim meant by money beats soul every time is this is his observation of the way the world is. So he's simply vocalizing or verbalizing his observation of the world. This is, you want to understand life in the modern world? This is it. There's two paths a man can go. One leads to money, one goes to soul. Money beats soul every time. Period. Full stop. That's it. That's all Jim had to say about it. So when I see these tribute bands out there doing their stuff, and I love these people. They're really good friends of mine too. Listen, we're all one big family, right? But here I am doing what I do, and it's quite a little bit of a niche, I guess, that I've carved out for myself.
Mm-hmm.
But that's okay with me. I don't get certain opportunities because of what I do. People don't know how to interpret me sometimes, don't know what to make of me. I don't think Las Vegas, or New York City for that matter, will ever know really what to do with me as a musician, because I do all of these things. If I was just doing one thing all the time, for instance, Willie Nelson, Willie Nelson, Willie Nelson, oh, he's that Willie Nelson guy. Okay, now they know what to do with me. But until then, they're not going to figure me out. You can't catch me, Las Vegas.
You're always coming up with something fresh. That's cool.
I'm too slippery for you.
Yeah.
Well,
Timothy, I have one more question for you.
Authentic for them. I'm too authentic for that.
Yeah.
But I don't want to betray. I don't want to betray my heroes. I want to get out there and I want to do the John Lennon show. I want to do the Brian Wilson show. I want to do that stuff, and I can do that stuff. And I do. And I'm always being given nice, cool performance opportunities by places like the Voodoo Brewing Company, for instance, that's having me do Ace Frehley on April 27th. That's going to be fantastic. Yep, there it is right there. The Voodoo Brewing Company, they just opened. This is really their first full year of being an open brewing company here in Las Vegas. And so far, and I've seen a bunch of little live music venues around town. And I got to say, Voodoo Brewing Company is easily one of my favorites, one of my 4 favorites currently at the moment here in Vegas. In terms of leadership, Voodoo Brewing Company does it right. They hire people to work who are happy to be there. Every time you go, they've got a big smile on their face, and you can tell that they're genuinely happy to be doing what they're doing in the city that they're doing it in, because let's face it, this is a cool city to do stuff in. And they're there right in the heart of it too. The Voodoo Brewing Company is right in a district of Las Vegas called the Arts District, where you've got different art studios, different performance venues and theaters. It's just great. It's about 2 miles north of the MSG Sphere. Are you familiar with the big Sphere that's here in Las Vegas?
Yeah, it's a new Sphere. Absolutely, yeah.
Yep. The Voodoo Brewing Company is just 2 miles north of the Sphere. So if you want to go to, for example, maybe go and see a Dave Matthews Band concert at the Sphere, or you want to go see U2 playing live in concert at the Sphere, you can get there nice and early and just go a couple of blocks north to Voodoo Brewing Company and, check out some of their microbrews and hang out and see what's going on there in terms of live music or stand-up comedy or all these things that they host there. Voodoo Brewing Company also hosts painting parties where people can come down and, hey, they've got big tables with paintbrushes all over the place and paint all over the place. And if you want to paint some stuff on the wall, okay, today we're painting flowers. Okay, everybody, let's paint. It's just so cool like that. In the Arts District, I absolutely love my experiences going there. Everybody should set some time aside. If you're going to go to visit Las Vegas, don't just gamble and see the magic shows or the live music concerts at the casinos and the resorts on the main strip. Go off strip and see some of the little hidden gems.
Yeah, oh, I agree. There's so much there that you
Oh
can
yeah,
find. It's just really cool. It's amazing. It's one of a kind stuff.
it's great. And I love the great outdoors. Once you get away from the strip, get away even from the off strip places. And then you start to go toward, if you go to the west, you go towards the mountains and the
Mhm.
woods.
Some beautiful areas up there.
Oh yeah, Red Rock and all that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
so nice.
Incredible.
And you get to ski country too. There are some really nice ski resorts up there,
Mhm. Yep.
just west of Vegas. Once you go up to Mount Charleston, and Las Vegas itself is about 2,500 feet above sea level. We're high.
Mhm.
A lot
Yeah, it
of
gets
people forget
cold
how
up
high
there.
up we are. And then you got the mountains off to the west of here. That's another 1,000 feet up. It's really cool to see snow on the mountains. And even in the springtime months, going into early summer, you could still see snow, and you can still go skiing in like April or May or June, or snowboarding if you want to go and do all that stuff. So you don't just have to do stuff on the main strip. You can go do the great outdoors stuff too. I love to coach qigong in the great outdoors. I love to perform live music in the great outdoors, and it's really nice. And the Voodoo Brewing Company is great. Everybody really should go there. Seriously, it is so cool. That is easily one of my top four favorite places to play. The other three, Rick's Roll and Smoke Barbecue Tavern. You might know a TV show from the History Channel called Pawn Stars, about the famous pawn shop here in town.
Yeah, yeah.
So they do gold and silver trading and all that.
Yeah.
The owner, Rick Harrison, also owns the Rick's Roll and Smoke Barbecue Tavern, and
Ah.
I get to perform there sometimes. I did a Beach Boys show a couple of months ago there, and I'm doing an Eagles show there in May at Rick's. Rick is a cool dude, and he sometimes goes behind the bar at the tavern at the barbecue place. And if you like beef ribs,
Oh,
that's the
yeah.
place to go.
Love barbecue. I have 5 barbecues, so that's one of my vices is
Are you a
is
barbecue guy yourself? You grill at home?
yeah.
Yeah. What do you like to grill?
I do everything.
Everything.
I smoke. I have a
You
smoker
have a
that I
smoker?
yeah, and I do, all kinds of things. The pork, but I've done turkeys and goose and duck and, all
Wow.
kinds of fish, different fish. Um,
Yeah. Do you
throw
do
in,
brisket?
tri-tip is a big favorite of mine, but
Tri-tip.
any
Ooh, how long
any
do you
kind
like
of
to leave
steak.
tri-tip in the smoker for? Do you leave it in for like a good 5 hours or more?
With tri-tip, actually tri-tip's better on the grill,
Uh-huh.
but with the smoker, I'll do like, brisket in the
How long
smoker.
would you leave a brisket in there for?
That's like 10 hours minimum.
10 hours, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Mm,
it's
I
a
can taste
long,
it already.
but it's really good, and it's yeah. So, but you can only do a little bit of it because it's not very healthy for you.
Well, that's true. I mean, all things in moderation
Yep,
are better for
but it's
you
fun,
in moderation.
very fun. Timothy,
Yeah,
I have one more question for you. We wrap this
go
up. We've
for it.
been going for an hour and a half, so this has been really good. Uh,
Awesome.
but I want to wrap it up. I got one more question. You got time for one more?
I have time for one more. Bring it on.
Awesome. I asked this of everybody on the show, and it's this: it's taking a look at your whole life. What was the boldest leadership decision that you've made, and what were the consequences?
The boldest leadership decision I ever made in my lifetime
Yeah.
was the decision to take the bull by the horns for myself and relocate from New York to Nevada. That was a big choice that I made. I did that in 2018. I was 47 years old at the time, having lived the vast majority of my life in New York, having my band there, my career there, just everything. To get up and move like that was a big risk, but I knew that with risk comes reward, and with leadership comes reward too. So my decision was, let's go ahead and do this, and let's make the decision to do it now, while I'm still in my 40s and time is on my side still, kind of, sort of. So that was the big decision for me, to leave my life in New York behind and to move out west for new adventures in the great American West. And I did that without even really having sure footing in place when I came to Nevada. In other words, I didn't have a full-time job lined up for myself yet. All I had was a resume and my letters of recommendation from previous clients and my dreams and my hopes and my aspirations. That was it. It turns out that was all that I needed. So what do you make of that, my friend?
Well, and the rest is history. I mean, obviously we've covered a fraction of your experience in life here today, but it's
That was good. I
a
enjoyed that
lot.
conversation.
You have filled your life with tons of value for others. I see you as being a servant leader in
Well,
your
I thank you for saying that. I'm very aware that anything I accomplish with whether it's music or qigong or in the business world, where I am a freight forwarder and customs broker, everything I do is really just me standing on the shoulder of giants. Honestly,
Mm.
I didn't invent anything. I didn't really patent anything or create any new ways of thinking about anything. But I also don't even think of myself as a teacher so much. I'm a little bit more of a leader. I can lead by example. I can quietly lead by example, and I can help people to establish small goals for themselves. And a lot of times that's really all they need. From that point on, they're able to get out there and accomplish small goal after small goal, and before you know it, they're well on their way with their own momentum and their own hopes and dreams and their own comfort zones and their own perceived boundaries and their own unknowns and knowns and so on.
Excellent. Beautiful.
Thank you for having me. This was great, Jim.
Oh, yeah, it was really fun. Thank you for spending time with me on the show. And
My pleasure.
I'd like to just make sure that everybody's aware that you are the Qigong coach to go to.
That is me, my friend. I am the Qigong coach to come to. And if you want to catch me remotely, we can do stuff remotely.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to catch me in person during a Las Vegas visit of yours, or even if you're a full-time resident of Las Vegas, hit me up. I'd be more than happy to show you a little bit of what the discipline is all about. And I'm also one of the most affordable people that you'll find who do this. For me, it's $20 per person, per session, and it's a 90-minute session. And there's no commitments. It's always drop in. If you want to come and drop into one of my classes or sessions here in town, just look me up and let me know. I'll let you know where I'm going to be and when.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, sir.
Oh, you're very welcome, Jim. Thank you. I appreciate this very much. I think what you are doing is great. Leadership is very important. Everybody has leadership qualities.
Absolutely.
All you need to really bring them out is self-esteem, the self-confidence that comes from challenging yourself a little bit. And of course, being in the right place at the right time and surrounding yourself with enough of the right people.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, part of that, a huge part of that you actually embody is doing it.
The doing. Oh, yes. You can talk, you can think, but you've got to do.
Yes. And you are a doer. You're out there making it happen. And so bless you.
I am. I thank you. I don't give myself enough credit for it sometimes. But then again, recognition isn't really why I do what I do. I'm just my most authentic self. And authenticity is important to me. And I never want to pretend really to be something or someone that I'm not. And so, what you see is what you get. And, I think I'm doing all right. And I've been able to help a lot of folks to get healthier and to maybe take themselves a bit more seriously as we're getting older now. We've got to keep a close eye on things and in terms of our own self, physical health, mental health, spiritual health, all of the above.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, if I can be some small part that helps that to happen for you, I would be more than happy to do that. And it's rewarding, it's satisfying, and it's just me being me. So thanks again, Jim. I really appreciate the opportunity to join you today.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining me. And with that, we'll say goodbye. Hang on a sec when we're done. I'm going
Sure
to end
thing.
the stream here, and we'll see everybody on the next show. All right.